Hello, this is Mr. Henry. Welcome to Lesson 6.2, Part 2. Today we are still looking at ratios and rates, and the essential question is the same as yesterday. How do I find ratios and rates? Now today we're going to be focusing on something called a unit rate. A unit rate is sort of like a ratio. In fact, part of it is a ratio. But it's a ratio that shows a comparison per unit. A ratio that shows a comparison per unit. That means out of one, like how much does it cost for one can of soda, or how far can you run in 1 minute, okay? So that's kind of what a unit rate does. So you look down at example 1, here we have a couple of examples. Now here I can run 32, or I should say, in 32 seconds I can run 4 miles. Now, as a unit rate, I want to know how long would it take me to run 1 mile. Your denominator in a unit rate will always be 1. So to get this denominator to be 1, what I need to do is I'm going to divide by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1 mile, and 32 divided by 4 would give me 8 seconds. So as a unit rate out of 1 in the denominator, always 1, I can run 8 seconds in 1 mile, or in 8 seconds I can go 1 mile. Okay? Point of a unit rate is it's always out of 1. A 1 is always going to be in the denominator. Let's look at our second example. Here we have $4.80 for 12 sodas. So I'm first going to set this up as a fraction. $4.80 for 12 sodas. And I want to know how much does this cost for 1 soda. Make sure I put my units in there. So for $4.80 for 12 sodas, for 1 soda, let's see, divide by 12, divide by 12. You're always going to be dividing by this denominator. Whatever number this is, that's what you divide by. So I'm going to divide by 12, divide by 12. Well, 12 divided by 12 is 1 soda. $4.80 divided by 12 is 0.40 cents. Or you could say 40 cents for 1 soda. And with a calculator, I punched it in on my calculator here, I did $4.80 divided by 12 gives me 0.4. Okay? So unit rate, you always divide by the denominator, and you're always going to have a denominator for a unit rate. Denominator will be 1. Okay, now I'm going to give you 2 problems I want you to try. Letters C and D. Letter C is, if I buy 200 tissues for $1.50, I want to know how many tissues can I get for $1? What is the unit rate? And letter D will be, if I could run 2.4 miles in 18 minutes, what is the unit rate? How many miles per minute? So take a couple seconds, pause the video. When you are ready to continue, hit play. Okay, let's see how we did. Letter C. First thing you do is set up your fraction. 200 tissues for $1.50. Remember, you always divide by the denominator. Divide top and bottom. So I'm going to divide by 150. Divide by 150 equals, well, down here I'm going to get $1. And up top, what am I going to get? Well, take your calculator, punch in 200 divided by 1.50 equals, we got 133.3. So for $1, you're going to get 133.3 tissues. Make sure you include your units. Okay, letter D. Same thing. 2.4 miles, 18 minutes. Always have your units. You need your denominator to be 1. How many miles per minute? Which means 1 minute. Well, divide. Divide by 18, divide by 18. So I take my handy dandy calculator. 2.4 divided by 18 equals, I got 0.1333333, whatever, miles. So if I can run 2.4 miles in 18 minutes, in 1 minute, I can run that far, which is just over 1/10 of a mile. Okay? And you notice that these are starting to look a little bit like proportions. This thing equals this thing. My units match up going across, and actually, that's what we're looking at tomorrow, is proportions, and how we could solve something like this. Now the next topic is a little bit more complicated. We're looking at writing equivalent rates. Now, it's a little bit more complicated because you have to know a couple things about the problems. First off, here, if I said if I'm going to change 320 miles per hour, mph, miles per hour, and I want to change that into miles per minute. So some of you could probably figure out how to do this in your head. I'm going to show you how to do it on paper, how to do this using ratios. So I'm going to set this up 320 miles per 1 hour. Now, in the end, I want to have miles and, oopsie, I'll move this over. I want to have miles and minutes. So somehow I need my hours to cancel. I need them to be gone. Well, just like a fraction, if I have something in the denominator to cancel out, I need something in the numerator. So watch this little trick. 1 hour. I want my hours to cancel, right? So I want to have hours here. And in the end, I want to have minutes. So if I put minutes here, hours cancel. I'm left with miles and minutes. But, say, Mr. Henry, what numbers? There has to be something to go in here. Well, you're right. Hours and minutes. What's the comparison here? Hopefully you're thinking in your head, well, 1 hour is 60 minutes. And if you are thinking that, then you're correct. And all you would do from here now is multiply across. 320 times 1, 320. 1 times 60 is 60. The last thing we need to do now is just simply simplify. Well, let's see. Divide by 10, divide by 10. Now I have 32 over 6. Well, let's see. If I want per minute, that's 1 minute, right? So I need a unit rate. Divide by 6, divide by 6, and I have this already worked out ahead of time. I'm going to get 5.3 miles in 1 minute. So I set it up as a fraction. This guy is called a conversion. This is what I use to convert from hours into minutes. Remember, you always want your units to cancel out. So hours, cancel. One on the top, one on the bottom. I wanted minutes. So miles times no unit is miles. No unit times minutes is minutes. Multiply, multiply, simplify. Letter B. This one's a little bit more complicated, but I wanted to show this because it's kind of a real-life skill. Most cars, like on a highway, travel about 55 miles per hour, maybe a little bit faster. And I want to know how many feet per second. So in 1 second, how many feet does that car travel? Well, first, miles per hour. 55 miles in 1 hour. That's what it says, miles per hour. And in the end, I want to have feet per second. So I've got to get rid of miles and change it to feet. I've got to get rid of hours and change it to seconds. So actually, I might need a little bit more room here. Feet, seconds. So let's see. Miles. I need to change miles to feet. Well, do you know how many miles are, or how many feet are in a mile? Do you know the conversion for that? Well, first off, miles top, miles bottom. I need feet on top. So now miles and miles cancel. I'm left with feet. Well, if you don't know, I do. 1 mile is the same thing as 5,280 feet. That's the conversion. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. That's what it equals. Now, if you look, my miles are gone. I don't have miles anymore. I have just feet. Now, I have hours, and I want seconds. So let's see. I want to have hours up top, so hours and hours cancel. And I need seconds down below, so I left with seconds. Okay. Next question. Do you know how many hours are in a second or how many seconds are in an hour? You probably figured it out. There's 60 seconds in a minute. There's 60 minutes in an hour. So 1 hour is 3,600 seconds. Now, look at my units. Miles gone, hours gone. What's left? Feet up top, which is what I wanted. Seconds down below, which is what I wanted. Now, if I multiply across, I'm going to get my answer. 55 times 5,280, I've done ahead of time, 290,400. But this is not per second. I need a unit rate. All right, divide. Take this, divide by 3,600 on top and bottom. I'm going to get 1 second. And I'm going to get on the top about, if you divide, you should get about 80.6 feet. That means a car going 55 miles per hour, like on a highway, in 1 second, they're going to travel 80 feet. That's about 3 times the length of this room, from the front of the board to the back of the room. 3 times that in 1 second. That's awfully fast. Okay? Now, I know letter C was a little complicated. The problem I'm going to give you is more like letter A. Okay, letter C here. If I have 15 rotations per minute, and I want to turn that into rotations per second, set up your rate, find your conversion, and multiply. Take a couple seconds, do letter C. When you're done, hit play to continue. All right, here we go. So I'm going to take 15 rotations, abbreviating, per 1 minute. And I want to, let's see, I want my minutes gone and I want seconds. So for this minute to go away, I need a minute up top. And for me to get seconds, I need to have seconds down here. Rotations per second. Yeah, that should work. So let's see. Minutes. What's the conversion between minutes and seconds? How many minutes are in a second, or how many seconds are in a minute? Hopefully you can see that 1 minute is 60 seconds. Well, with that, look at that, minutes gone. 15 times 1. I could do that in my head. 1 times 60. I could do that in my head. I need a unit rate. Divide by 60, divide by 60. And how many rotations per 1 second do we get? If you divide, hopefully you found 0.25. In 1 second, it does a quarter of a turn, 1/4 of a turn, 25%. A little complicated. We can go back over this a little bit more later if you'd like. Example 3. Using equivalent rates. Now this is sort of like what we did yesterday when we compared ratios. Watch this. Here we have two deals, maybe from a pizza store. 2 pizzas for $16.40 or 3 pizzas for $24.50. And I want to know which of these is the better deal. Well, set up your rate. 2 pizzas, abbreviating P for pizza, for $16.40 or 3 pizzas for $24.50. Well, let's get a unit rate. How much pizza do I get for $1? Divide by 1640, divide by 1640. Sounds like a job for Calci. 2 divide 1640 equals 1.219. Just get a couple digits. I'm sorry, not 1 point, 0.1219. Means for $1 you get that much of a pizza. That's just over 10%. Now let's look at for the 3 pizzas deal. 3 divided by 24.50 equals 0.122. Well, which is the better deal? For $1 you can get 1.21 of a pizza, or for $1 you can get 1.22. Which is better? You got to think about it. For $1, would you want to get more pizza or less pizza? Most people would want more pizza. That is using a unit rate to compare which is a better deal. Okay, let's try letter B. Same idea. This time instead of which is a better buy, we're just looking at an insect crawling. It says an insect crawls 1 foot in 10 seconds. Let's see. 1 foot in 10 seconds. All right, keep reading. At this rate, how far can it crawl in 5 minutes? All right, so I need, 5 minutes. How far can this go in 5 minutes? Looks like a proportion. We could actually solve it sort of like a proportion. But to do that, I need to figure out seconds. These units are not the same. Seconds, seconds. So let's see. 1 foot for 10 seconds. How far could it go in 5 minutes? Well, do we know how many seconds are in 5 minutes? 5 times 60. 300 seconds. So, to get this missing piece, let's see. From 10 seconds to 300 seconds, I could times by 30. Well, guess what? 1 foot times 30, he can go 30 feet in 300 seconds, in 5 minutes. So at this rate, how far could it go in 5 minutes? It can go 30 feet. Last example for you. This is going to be a which is the better deal? Which is the better buy? Would it be better to get 12 fluid ounces of soda for 0.50, basically 50 cents, or is it better to get a 2 liter, which I looked is 67 fluid ounces, for $1.06? I want you to set up your unit rates, divide, and see which of these is the better deal. Pause the video. When you're ready to continue, hit play. Alright, let's see how we did. Unit rate for the first one, 12 over 0.5. Unit rate for the second one, 67 over 1.06. And hopefully already your brain tells you which one is better. But we continue the problem because Mr. Henry wants us to. Divide by 0.5, $1 of this will get you how much? Well, divide by 0.5, we get 24 fluid ounces. So $1 can get you 24 fluid ounces there. Alright. Well, if I divide by 1.06, divide by 1.06, let's see, how much $1 can get me here? It's going to get me 63.2 2 fluid ounces. So you tell me, what's the better buy? $1 gets you 63 ounces of soda, or $1 gets you 24 ounces of soda? Which one do you get more? Well, obviously, that one. That's the better buy. Okay? So, last thing for the day, summary. Can you briefly describe how to get a unit rate? How do you get one? What do you do? How do you get a unit rate? Take a second, think of your answer, write it down. When you're ready to continue, hit play. Alright, what you should have said, hopefully, was, first thing you do is you set up your proportion, or you set up your fraction, ratio, rate, whatever you want to call it, this thing. To get a unit rate, then you divide the top and bottom both by the denominator. So here we divided both by 1640, divide by 1640. That is your unit rate. That is your cost per, or your how much pizza you get for $1. Let's see. Here's my ratio. And actually, this one I didn't find a unit rate. Better example. 50 cents for 12 ounces, divide by denominator, divide by the denominator. We got our unit rate. Okay? This has been lesson 6.1, part 2. Tomorrow we move on to proportions. Thank you. Bye-bye.